Hello, everybody. This is Hunter Pascal, and we are live here on Foreclosure Friday. Yes, it's Friday again. What is that? TGI, TIGF, whatever it is. Thank God, or TGIF. Thank God it's Friday again. And it's been a crazy ride this week. Debbie and I, if you've been following us a little bit, we've been traveling all over the place. And just as recent, we were down in West Palm Beach, one of our most favorite places to go. Delray, West Palm, Boca. Any of that down there is just absolutely gorgeous. If you haven't had a chance to go down and drive down US 1 in West Palm Beach, one of the richest counties in the world, you need to go do that. It's an experience. Debbie and I got to hang out down there on Atlantic Boulevard, which is right down the heart of it, where all the restaurants are and all the good things that are going on, the bars and all that stuff. And it's just a really cool time. We had a great time there. And we were there and actually with Frank McKinney was doing a grand launch of a book that I can't talk about, so we're not going to talk about that. So we're here today. I have a special guest. This is an honor. This is a first time live on Facebook, I hear. So that's the first. I love getting those first, and a very, very, very special guest here today. And I know you're going to want to hear this interview. I've been kind of excited about it. I kind of put this interview in front of a one I was going to do with the part of the family, and we'll talk about it maybe. But if we have time, I think we have a lot of room here. We have about an hour to talk and interview, and it's Laura McKinney. So I want to introduce Miss Laura onto Facebook Live for the first time. Welcome, Laura.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
So not Laura's first time on Facebook, but Laura's first time interviewing on Facebook. But let's open it up with that. Let's talk about, I met you down at 3:00 in the morning on a street corner last week. And, actually it was tomorrow be a week, right?
Yep, that's
and
right.
I met you down there and I hadn't seen you in a couple of years. And actually I was told you weren't coming because I did ask about you. And lo and behold, you showed up about 2 minutes after that conversation with a big surprise. I guess that's what you do. You surprise your parents as much as you can and keep them on the edge, right? Keep them focused on things they need to focus on. So, and I've been trying to contact you from there. I said, hey, I'd really love to get you an interview. And so I'm instant messaging Laura. She has a profile on Facebook. So I instant message, and a day goes by and I didn't hear nothing. I said, that's interesting. And a couple more days go by. And then I go on your feed. I'm even on your feed. I said, hey, I'm looking for you. Where are you? And nothing happened. So, I'm not a give up kind of guy. So I had to keep going. I didn't want to do this, but I went ahead and went over her head to the top. And that's how you have to do it sometimes. Sometimes you got to go over the head if you want to get results. And I did. I didn't know if she just didn't want to do it because she doesn't do Facebook or what. But I am honored. We are honored at our office to have you on today. And I did text her father and said, hey, is there another way that you get a hold of your daughter? And it took him a day almost to answer me. I'm like, man, this McKinney don't want to let this interview happen.
Just hard to get.
But it did. It's here. I love it, and this is awesome. So, so you were born and raised in Delray?
I was born and raised Delray Beach, all the way until I was 18 years old. I lived here, and then I moved up to Pennsylvania for college.
So let's. That was a quick interview. If you do all that, I mean, you're 18, then I went to college. We're going to go back a little bit. So.
Yes.
When talking about school, now there was rumors that you had somebody that took you to school every day, or it was a walk. I heard about it a few times. So I just like to hear from you because I've never asked you, and I always wondered, if I was being walked to school by my dad every day, what would it be like, or what would other people think about that happening? What is your take as far as back as you can remember? And I don't know when it started and all that, but I hope you want to talk about it. You're not embarrassed or anything.
No, not at all. From preschool, so from when I was 4 years old all the way up until 8th grade, when I was about 13 years old, My dad, Frank, he walked me to school every single day, no matter what, rain or shine. We always made it happen. We had to walk through some hurricanes. We had to walk through some Florida cool fronts that were pretty cold. But at the time, I was so young and I realized it was special. But as I've gotten older, I really realized how rare and how it's special that time is with my father. And I know not every child gets to have that growing up. And it taught me really subconsciously from a young age that time is the most important thing you can give to somebody. It is the most valuable thing in the world. And he gave me his time every morning. And growing up, I mean, there's nothing that can replace that. And it really showed me that when I have children of my own one day, giving them that quality time every day, making sure there's a point to do it. Even if I'm going through stuff, I know my dad had stuff going on at work and everything. He put it all aside, for a half hour every day to spend time with me, to talk with me, to ask about my day. So that was a huge part of my childhood, and so much so that my dad wrote a book about it, a fictional book. Called Dead Fred, Flying Lunchboxes in the Good Luck Circle. So quite a name.
What a topic. What a title.
Right. It just kind of encapsulated all of our experiences and inside jokes that we kind of created over those 10 years that he walked me to school. So very, very special time.
So you can see that really impacted your being,
Yeah.
say, not your life, but your whole being.
Absolutely.
And to have that happen is definitely something special for fathers or any parent that would take the time and do that. And do it not once, but do it. I think it was something like 11,000 times or whatever. It was a lot of. I think Frank talks about it a little bit, and I know he's happy and proud of that. Not because it was him doing it, it's because he had the time or took the time to make that happen. That's very special for sure.
Yeah.
So, and you said you learned some things through there. Is there any kind of anything that really sticks out? I mean. Read the topic, read the name of that book again, if you can remember it.
Yes, Dead Fred, Flying Lunchboxes in the Good Luck Circle. And Dead Fred originated from a dead fish we found on a drawbridge when we were walking to school. We kept it and named it Fred, and that was our thing. And then flying lunchboxes, my friends and I, sometimes I would have some friends that would join on our walks to school, and we would throw our lunchboxes off of the drawbridge and try to hit a certain rock, and then we would go down and get them, of course. And then the Good Luck Circle is one time they were paving some sidewalk on our regular route to school, and we drew a circle in it, and every day my dad and I would walk through it for good luck. So little bits and pieces here and there that made up the core message of that book.
So is that a children's book or is that an adult book, or what is that book based on? I mean, I know it's based on, but
yes, it was made to be a children's book. It is most popular with young readers. Kind of competes with the Narnias, Harry Potters, but I know plenty of adults who have read it or have read it with their children and have enjoyed it just as much.
That's awesome. So if you get a chance to get that book, now we're not here to sell nothing. We're just here to talk about Laura McKinney and her growing up and having this special privilege to do an interview with us. Yes. So, we have some questions that, we randomly pulled, and if you don't want to answer them, you don't, but I heard that you're an open book. You said you don't have nothing to hide, and that's beautiful, because transparency is one of the best things you can have in your life. And so growing up with Frank and Nelsa, how did that, that trip to school every day, but how did just growing up with them in a whole through the house, through the lifetime there, how did that influence your life, you think?
Gosh. Yeah. My parents, I think, are two of the most dynamic and humble people I have ever met at the same time, which is a very rare combination to have such dynamic people and such humble people. And I think that really transferred into me as a person, and that example of not being afraid to be bold, which I'm sure, and my father is a bold person, and he's not afraid to go for what he wants. And he's also very humble in the work he does as well. And then my mom, on the other hand, she is so hardworking. Her humility is through the roof. And having that example has been incredible. And both of them, are entrepreneurs in their own right. They do their own stuff, and that self-starting attitude and the entrepreneurial spirit is something that I really latched onto, is something that I admire. And no matter what field that you go into in life. And for me, I'm going to be starting early in my career here soon. Having an entrepreneurial lens kind of as you go through business, no matter what the business is a valuable asset to have. And they definitely showed me how to do that.
So you're saying you're starting your entrepreneurial soon. You don't think you've already kind of had it embedded in you really in a way, and now the age of what?
Yeah, I'm 22.
You're 22.
Yeah.
And at the age now you're starting, because that's when I bought my first house when I was the age of 22.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Mhm.
And so your entrepreneurial spirit, you're saying now your new gesture of life or profession of life is going to be entrepreneurial marketing,
Yeah,
communication.
I'll be working in communications.
Okay.
And yep, right now I'm in the process of a bunch of job interviews, and I'm moving to New York City next week to kind of hop in with both feet and hit the pavement and get it going. But
We'll
no
talk
matter where I
about that
land,
in a minute.
yeah, yeah.
Definitely, that's pretty large. That's pretty large. Loving growing up in the richest county, living and growing up in the richest county in the
Mhm.
world. What is it like? What was it like? Is it different than anything else? I mean, growing up, you're a child, you don't really know your surroundings and all, and you say your parents are, you know, go-getters and they're humble at the same time.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you've seen other places. I mean, maybe not, maybe just Penn State and Florida. I don't know, but I'm sure you've seen other areas. But
Yeah.
uh,
Mhm.
how was that growing up in the richest county
Yeah.
in the world? Or did you even know it was the richest county in the world?
I definitely knew growing up that there was privilege around me, and that my everyday life maybe didn't look like the everyday lives of some of my peers, even that lived in the general area, or even family members that lived in other states. But I think for me, what really gave me that contrast that there is other things out there is that my parents introduced me to what poverty looked like at a very young age through their charity, the Caring House Project Foundation. And they brought me to Nicaragua when I was 4 years old. And I saw, wow, there is a whole nother world out there. What I'm living in this beautiful area, these beautiful homes, that is not normal. And there's people around the world who are really suffering. And that opened up my heart to a whole nother compassionate side of myself that I didn't know until I was exposed to that. So thanks to my parents for kind of showing me the other side of the world and the other side of life that, just shows how lucky I was to grow up in an area like this.
So, are you considered a millennium?
Yes, I'm on the cusp of millennial and Gen Z. I'm right in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what an awesome experience. Number one,
Mhm.
I got to do that at a later age, not the same place, but in Haiti with
Yep.
them. And I've heard about poverty, and I've heard about, I mean, where we grew up, was, middle class, white collar, whatever.
Yeah.
But just to go see and experience that, I think anybody watching this, if you haven't experienced a third world or have children that haven't experienced, if you can do that, I think that is, I mean, well, let me ask this you. I mean, what did it do for you? Like you just said, you realized that where you were living wasn't normal.
Hmm.
Where they're living really isn't normal either, though, in a way. I mean, it's normal for them and it's
Exactly.
normal for us, but like you said, it did something to you early on, even at 4 years old.
Right.
Have you been back since?
I have. I would go every year, and most recently to Haiti. That's where we really do most of our work. But I think for me, it gave me perspective, big time perspective. Because I mean, you go to these places and the people are happy. They're happy. And they don't have anything. So I'm like, I come home, I'm like, what am I doing complaining about this meal I'm eating, or my room, or my house? Or like, I have no room, no excuse to be complaining about anything. So it just kind of gave me the extra perspective and grit that it's not that bad. When I think things are bad here, it just kind of slaps me back into place, which is good, which is really
Very
good.
awesome. That's awesome. I mean, what a life lesson to learn.
Yeah. Mhm.
Again, we grow up here and people are holding their hands out, and I said millennium because, a lot of them are quick and moving, and, I know it's all quick moving anyway, because, us older people, your dad included, and me, my little age,
Yeah.
things we had to grow through the internet world and come out, this side of it. You guys are growing in it, not
Right.
out of it. And it's just amazing all the things we can do, and the things that, that are capable of doing, but
Yeah.
stuff like that, you can't get that. You can maybe see it, a third world country. And I remember seeing it in geographic. I love geographic books. I
Mhm.
used to get the old Geographical Life magazines and look
Yeah.
through all those magazines. My parents had those, and I'd look at that and I'd say, wow, that's just hard to conceive. But when you physically go there, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. So I got another a question I kind of wanted to know. Most of us know your parents.
Yes.
What can you say or tell us about them that nobody knows?
Oh, nobody knows. No, my dad.
Remember now, your dad might be watching this, so
Oh yeah, I'm sure he is. I think that, I mean, my dad, preaches about being very transparent, and he is. So it's really hard to say something about him that people don't already know. He puts it all out there. He's very active on Facebook and Instagram and social media. And he prides himself on being transparent with people who follow him. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. So I think that maybe what people don't know about him is that he goes to bed pretty early. He has a pretty early bedtime. He doesn't drink, so he has this like wild persona, which he is, but he's shown a great example to me that you don't need to be drinking, doing drugs, or staying up all night to obtain that. So he's a pretty healthy guy, has a pretty healthy lifestyle. I mean, he's an athlete of sorts, he does ultra marathons. So, but people know that, but just his lifestyle is pretty tame behind the scenes. He takes good care of himself. And then my mom, she's always an enigma to people, because people say, how does she keep up with Frank? How does she, keep up with everything? Really, my dad has to keep up with her. She is one of the
wow, we didn't know that.
Yes, she is one of the most strongest and hardworking people. She knows her worth as a human being, and she works hard. And I think that that's probably what caught my dad's eye back when they met in their 20s.
Right.
That she's just has this air of independence about her. So I think that he keeps up with her just as much as she keeps up with him.
That is awesome. That we see your mom, Nelsa. We see her working the functions, the events, and all that, and she's right on top of it. Even all the way last weekend at 3 o'clock in the morning, taking care of Frank and
Yeah.
and going through the processes of what they need to do, what they did last weekend, and you can tell that we see that. Debbie and I both love that relationship. I mean, that was actually the interview that we need to do next. Is
Yeah.
that interview with them too.
Mhm.
And I've already asked your dad, and he said at any time, and here we did. We skipped over and came right to you, but that's all right. We're going to go back and get it. But
Good.
I want to make sure I had it all right before I interview them, right?
Right.
That way I know I got it all right. So,
Right. Mhm.
you know, that you talked about, you grew up here, you got influenced by your parents, you saw the grit, you saw the work, you saw the humility, the humbleness, the giving. I mean, they're very, very giving people.
Mhm.
And I know I've met you a handful of times, and through your growing up, and it's just amazing, how you've turned what you've learned and kept it and used it for the right things, where other people could have just went the other way. What keeps you focused on that? I mean, the drugs, the world, the pot drinking, all, it's all out there. What really just keeps you focused on that right path? What is it that helps you personally? For all
Yeah.
the viewers out there that's had a chance. I mean, I'm in recovery. I've been, sober for 31 years, and I've had the other lifestyle. And I knew, I mean, it'd be a good question for me too, but what does keep you focused and moving in the right direction?
Yeah. I think for me, I've been lucky enough to have hobbies and find work and things that I love to do. And when you find something that you love to do, and or just a project or some sort of passion that you like to work on, you get enough high from that that you don't need something else coming from an outside force. And when you fall in love enough with the process of life and the essence of life, which my parents have shown me a good example of that. And for myself personally, I love the essence of life, and I've learned to let that kind of be my high. Besides that, I know for me, a big driver of motivation is that I want to be able to give my children a life that I had or even better. And I don't know my future children. I don't know where they are or what's going on, but all I know is that I care for them and I want them to have a good life. So I want to work hard for them, even though I don't know them yet.
Right, right. No, that's good. That's awesome. I mean, that's it. So you're part of your parents' legacy.
hmm
Um, do you have your own legacy yet? Do you know what it is? Do you have you
Well,
have you thought about it? I mean, is it picking up, carrying the torch? Is it creating your own torch, or both, or multiple? I mean, have you thought about that?
I'm starting to as I enter my adulthood, really. I think for me, when it comes to my parents' legacy and stuff that I want to carry on for them, I'm not going into the real estate world or interior design world like my parents, but I definitely want to carry on the torch of the Caring House Project Foundation. It's something I want to lead and grow to higher levels one day. It's something I'm super passionate about, and I would not let that die under my watch. So that's definitely something I want to continue. And then as far as my career goes, afterwards, like I said, moving to New York, and what I'm really passionate about is, working in communications for an entertainment or recreation and an entity. I think that the act of play is really underestimated, and kind of leaning into what that means for the future as things start to open back up after coronavirus, and how people are going to be wanting to have recreational and entertainment experiences. I'd love to be at the forefront of that and kind of bringing things that make people happy right to them. And that's what I'm hoping to do in New York City.
That is New York City.
Mhm.
That's a scary place right now, you think? Or, I mean, you've been watching the news, you see what's going on there. And how do your parents think about you? I mean, you're 22, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But I mean, have you thought about any of the
Yeah.
things that are happening or going on there? I don't want to say tragic, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff. There's tragic all over the world right now.
Yeah.
So what made you pick New York? I guess is it
Yeah.
just the
Sure.
opportunity in
So,
New York? Or, I mean, I
yeah.
mean, like I said, it's kind of a scary thing. And I mean, I drove to New York once and went down all the wrong way roads at 12 midnight, trying to
Right.
find my hotel. And finally, I got out of my van, and the guy's calling me, and I said, "Look, I'm right here. I don't know where I'm at, but you just got to come get me, because I've just drove 100,000 miles, it seems like, and I can't find the La Quinta Inn in
I know.
downtown New York, and you're gonna have to come get me, dude." So I mean, New York is different. It's not like Delray Beach.
It is not. There's definitely more chaos to it, but for some reason I find that chaos really beautiful there. I worked there the past couple of summers, doing various internships, and I kind of got bit by the bug of it. The hustle of it, just the diversity of it. So much is going on all the time, and so many different types of people, and learn it. You can meet someone new every day and learn something new every day. You do have to seek out those opportunities. They're not just going to come to you, but I'm the type of person who loves to seek out those opportunities, and it's just an endless revolving door of that if you look for it. And to go there in your early 20s, that's the time to go. And when you're not tied down to really anything, and there's a lot of opportunity there. But yeah, I kind of, like I said, got bit by the bug. I love it. And the fact that New York City is struggling of sorts, and to see it go through all of the hardship that it has in the past couple of months, it only drew me closer to it, because it needs help. It needs people who are in there who are going to run towards the fires and not away from them. And when you love a place and you love what it stands for, it's a no brainer to go towards that fire and to try to help it as much as you can.
That's awesome. That's just beautiful. The whole, my kids live in New York, White Plains.
Okay.
My daughter-in-law is in White Plains. My son, they live in Poughkeepsie or close to that area
Mhm.
there with their two children. So they're outside the city. So it's all up north a little bit in the woods,
Yeah,
not in the woods, but it's beautiful up there.
it
I
is
know.
beautiful.
Outside of your parents,
Mhm.
who else has inspired you besides me and your parents? Who
Of course.
else has inspired you to do things that are, the way you're going? I mean, has it been a professor? Has it been a teacher? Has it been the church? I
Yeah.
mean, I know you attend church, right, as well.
Yeah.
So who else outside of your family, and again, and me, has inspired you to do things and go on?
Yeah, I think big picture wise, not so much people that I know personally, but some people I've always looked up to. there's been two, and it's Audrey Hepburn and Oprah Winfrey for different reasons. Audrey Hepburn, because she carries herself with a lot of class, and still has a sense of humor about things, which is important. And then Oprah, I really respect the way she has built a communications media empire. I think that someone in that industry, in that field, and to just see how she keeps growing it and capitalizing on what she's working on, it fascinates me. And it has since I was a little girl. I've always kind of followed her. So those two on a big scale. Like you said, my faith is important to me. And through prayer and meditation and that sorts, that is something that keeps me grounded and always keeps me kind of humbled and centered. And then I'll another thing too, I'm not going to say a specific professor, specific teacher, but I've been really lucky through all my life that I've been drawn to my English professors and my English teachers from a very young age. And they've taught me the power of good writing and storytelling. And that's something that my family, my dad's a writer, and I definitely love to write. I would love to write books one day. So I've been lucky to have people who've empowered me in that department.
Wow. You talked about earlier about a family and a legacy and all that. And this question came. I mean, I asked, like I said, I know you and know of you and know some things, but I wanted to really get some great questions.
Yeah.
And one of these, you may even know where it came from, but I want to ask you,
Okay.
What does that husband look like? What does that perfect husband look like?
For me, I think the most important thing is someone that is not afraid to go outside of the norm. I have always said I've never want to settle down. I want to elevate up in every aspect of my life. And so finding someone that is going to continue to challenge me, just as I challenge them in different ways, is important. And a sense of humor is very important to me. I think if you can't laugh, you're going to end up crying about it. So you got to end up, start laughing
Right.
about it. But yeah, definitely someone that challenges me and someone I can laugh with.
That's awesome. Great answer. Great answer. You're a top speaker here. I can tell you that right now. I can see it already. So speaking of that, you go through the walks with your dad in school. He walks you 1,000, 1,100 times, whatever it is, 1,000 times or 10,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
And you go through school, you go through high school,
Mm-hmm.
and then, you have a choice to stay home, go to college or whatever.
Yep.
What made you pick Penn State? Everybody knows you went to Penn. Well, most people now everybody knows you went to Penn State. Everybody in the world knows now because this Zoom Live is going everywhere. So you're on. So what made you pick a coldest state? I mean, it's cold, right? Isn't it?
It is. It's freezing, but I picked Penn State. I had no intention really to go there. It's not like since I was a little girl, I was like, I want to go to Penn State. When it came to go to college, when it came time for me to choose a place to go to college, my parents, they said, you don't have to go to college, unless you can choose an entrepreneurial route if you want. And I was lucky to have that option, but for the work I wanted to do, I said, college is the right choice for me. But I knew I didn't want to go to school in Florida. I wanted to go somewhere where absolutely no one knew me, no one knew where I came from, and I could start from scratch and make my own name for what it was. And so I applied to probably 20 schools around the country that had good communications programs. I kind of forgot I applied to Penn State, ended up getting the acceptance letter and said, what, I'll just go visit real quick. We'll see. And it was one of those God feelings when you got on campus for me. And it was supernatural. I was like, I belong here. Something told me I need to go there, even though I had absolutely zero connection to it. But I got there and it became mine, literally. And it was kind of just, I trusted the process and let myself grow and flourish where I felt right. And it ended up working out to my favor for sure.
So you attended Penn State out of high school. Did you take time off, or you just go? You went right out of high school, made a decision. You're not slowing down. You got a goal. Oh, speaking of that, how do you create those goals or those barriers or plateaus in life? What do you set for yourself? How do you set certain goals or things you want to do with projects like you talked about to keep you focused on things in life and keep life? How do you do that? So, I mean, we want to know, because I know it changes, so.
It does. And I think for me, I definitely tend to analyze, I have a tendency to want to analyze everything like down to the minute it happens and the goal that I'm trying to set. But something that someone told me about 5 years ago was, Laura, do what you love and the rest will follow. And that has been my guiding compass. That has been how I set my goals. That is how I follow my goals. I try not to plan it too hard, because once I do that, I end up getting in my own way. So I just figure out, I feel it out what I am doing when I'm feeling the most authentic joy in my life. And then I just follow that feeling. And it's been an incredible compass for me for the past 5 years since I heard that saying.
That is awesome. So that is do what you love and love what you do.
Yep.
And things will follow. Things will fall in place, and that's what we kind of talk about and teach is, we don't want to change your whole model. We don't want to change your whole persona. We just
Yeah.
want to do what you're doing and just add value to it.
Right.
And it seems to work for us, and it seems to work for our partners and our students.
Yeah.
Cold Penn State. When did you start Penn State? How long ago was that?
2016.
So in 2016, you showed up at Penn State, said, "Here I am from Delray Beach. I don't know none of yous."
Nope.
So how did that feel? What was your first feeling? Did you feel you made the right decision when the first day came and all that whole process?
Yeah.
So you went there to interview the school, right?
Yeah.
That's how you do. I don't even know how you do that because I never made it to college. I was a high school dropout. So
Yeah.
I did finish. Don't get worried. I did finish high school. So what did it feel like to you when you first got there? This little girl from Delray Beach, and 2016. You said you're 22 now, so you're pretty young up there.
Yep.
All by yourself, right?
Yep. I just turned 18. I was not scared, and I thought I was going to be. But the minute my parents drove away in their car and I was left with absolutely no one and nothing, I said, "This is it." I felt this weird, invigorating feeling where I'm like, "This is mine now. Like I can make this." It's a blank canvas. There was no rules, there was rules, but they were going to be my rules for like the first time. And I think a lot of kids kind of experienced that. I never felt homesick, except maybe a few times when it got really cold and I said I could really use the beach right now, or the first time I got like a cold and I wanted my mom to make me soup. But besides that, it really, I never felt homesick. It was one of those gut feelings, and I wasn't afraid of it. It really excited me.
So 18 years old, leaving the wealthiest county in the world, the warmest beaches and beautiful landscape in the world, and you go to cold Penn State for college. You get there at 18. You did some miraculous things there in Penn State. Can you share a little bit about what happened and tell me what happened, and then I'll ask the other question, the other half of that. What happened in Penn State there? Was it the first year, second year, third year? What was it that happened there?
So I decided right when I got there, I said, I love this place. I need to figure out a way to keep giving back to it. That's just how I was raised. If you love something, you got to pour yourself into it and make it stronger. So that's what I felt when I got there. And I thought, I tried probably every single club and activity I could try to join. But what I ended up landing on was student government. And I was involved, in high school, middle school, student government, but it was nothing too crazy. And I got involved and, started doing little events here and there. And then lo and behold, by my senior year, I ended up running for student body president of Penn State, and I ended up winning. And being able to lead 46,000 students was an honor, and something that little girl who showed up to campus at 18, not knowing anybody, did not foresee. And that was never my goal. I didn't step foot on campus and say, I'm going to be student body president by the time I leave here. I stepped foot on the campus and just said, I love it, and I'm going to keep serving it and following that authentic joy and that authentic feeling. And that led me literally to leading the school through some very interesting times, especially in the past year, but it was very special.
So from nobody knowing you, showing up, you did the clubs, not the club, not the bar thing, the school.
Yeah.
And it didn't feed you enough. You wanted more.
Yeah.
So how did you get there? How did that happen? How'd
Yeah.
you go from nobody knowing you to everybody knowing you?
Yeah. I mean, I owe it a lot to that organization. I joined the student government organization, and my sophomore year, I got asked to run as student body vice president before I became president. And that was unexpected in itself. And it kind of was almost like I shadowed the president that year when I was vice president, and kind of got to see how the role worked. And I decided if that's something I really want to do, because it is a full-time job, a huge commitment. You are the spokesperson for the whole student body. The university administration and board of trustees leans on you to make decisions on behalf of all your constituents. So it's not something to take lightly. So I didn't take that responsibility of deciding that I was going to run for student body president lightly at all. I knew it was going to become my whole life, and it did for a whole year. But just navigating to that point, I surrounded myself with people who were way smarter than me. I was usually the youngest person in the room. I always tried to kind of squeeze my way into conversations about decisions that, I just wanted to learn about. I wasn't trying to influence decisions necessarily. I just wanted to see how people who were smarter than me and very strategic and understanding made decisions. And it was fascinating to me, and I just learned from them. And it kind of just, they kind of took me under their wing, and that was the best way to kind of get to where I wanted to do, or do what I wanted to do, by having mentors.
So surround yourself by people who are smarter than you.
Yeah.
This is what your words.
Yeah.
Got involved,
Mm-hmm.
poured yourself into it,
Yep.
willing to learn,
Yep.
willing to change, because there had to be some changes that came
All
about in your life. I mean, willing to be disciplined enough not to go to the other clubs and all the things that they may have, and the other vices or whatever, and stay true to yourself, and stay true to Penn State, and stay true to 46,000 student body, right? Is it 46,000 student body? That's a big big decision. That's a big compromise
Absolutely.
to do that. Was there ever any time that you said, "Oh crap, I made a mistake"?
Not once, but there was definitely challenging moments, because on a collegiate campus, especially just right now in the world, there's a lot of opposing views, and you have to be that mediator to help students find middle ground, and to help students agree on things for a bunch of different issues. It's just not just one thing. So it taught me a lot about becoming a better listener. I had no choice but to listen to people before I made a decision or speak, because my decisions weren't just reflecting me, they were reflecting 46,000 people.
Wow, wow, very powerful, very powerful. So, well, that's one of the big lessons you got.
Mhm.
What other lessons can you tell me, being president and student body of Penn State? What else did it do? I mean, how much was the pay?
None. It was a volunteer job. I mean, for the hours I was working, but I mean, I was happy to do it. I think some lessons, of course, a huge part of it for me was communication. When I was younger, much younger, I was pretty shy. So this forced me to kind of put myself out there. I had to do a lot of public speaking. There was, at the beginning of my term, I had to address 10,000 people in our huge arena, and that was, something I had to face.
Woo, that's
And
big. If you've never stood in front of 10,000 people
yeah,
and spoke, much less just stand there,
yeah,
right, on stage or about podium or whatever you're hiding behind, that's
yeah,
a big deal.
yeah. No,
I mean, that's a huge deal. That takes a special person.
yeah, and it taught me how to just step up for myself. I learned that I had to step up for me if I was going to be able to step up for all of these other people. And I had to work on myself constantly, and I still am working on myself. I mean, I'm only 22 years old. Like, I'm not done yet, but that time in college, I had to constantly be aware of myself, and where my mental state was at, and where, I just, everything. I had to make sure that I had to check in on myself so that I would be strong for everyone.
Speaking of checking in,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm getting some of these questions as we go.
Yeah.
Some are already pre-done.
Yeah.
Did you ever check in at home when you're at Penn State?
I did. I did call home. I tried at least a couple times a week. And most times, I mean, my parents were my sounding board. If I did come in contact with conflict, which happened quite often in the position I was in. And I wanted to hold that stoic and strong front for my constituents in the student body. I would go back to my apartment and then I'd call my parents and I'd cry. I'd say, Mom, Dad, I need help. I need advice. And they would kind of hold my hand and walk me through it, which, I mean, that was invaluable for me. And I think a lot of college students have that, but not all of them. So I was very grateful. And, you know, they were my trusty advisors through some of the roughest waters.
So if I remember correctly, I don't think your dad went to college, did he?
He didn't. No.
Yeah. I don't know about your mom. She went to school. I know she's a interior designer and all. And even with that, you still had the ability to reach out, to get some ideas, to get some help. You know, naturally they're your parents, so they're going to guide you in the, you know, the correct way. You know, you're going to get a true answer. You probably know you're going to get a transparent answer, right? You're not going to get something fluffy or nothing. You're going to get the truth. I mean, that's all I hear. That's why we love them so much, is because you see what you see what you get what you see. And anytime I ever talk to him, and you know, we communicate with him a couple of times a year. Probably not as much as you, but we communicate with him because we like him as much and follow him as well. But, you know, it was just, you know, we heard about you running for Penn State. We were so excited for you, and it was all over. Your dad posted your, you know, everybody vote for Laura, whoever you are. So do you think there's any opportunity for president of the United States in 2036?
I am very flattered that you asked that, but that is not the direction I'm going in. I will never say never, but the political realm is not my realm right now. And I think the collegiate level politics where I kind of cap myself at the moment, but it's an interesting time for it anyway.
What is the difference? What is the difference between that, the politics, and just everyday going to college? I mean, what is there a big difference? I mean, I'm not a political guy much, you know. I'm just an old boy here in Florida, and I see what's going on, and I hear what's going on, and I make my decisions from what I see and behavior that I see and stuff like that. What is the difference? I mean, is it a difference in a regular lifestyle?
The difference between being a political figure on a college campus and being a regular college student? Yeah, there is definitely a difference. And it was hard for me because on the weekends, I wanted to be a regular college student, you know, but I had to watch my actions. I had to watch what I did because the local press was always watching me too. And there was, like I said, you know, I had to represent people to our board of trustees and our senior administration at Penn State, our president of the university. I had to be the person for them. So I always dressed as if I was going to Capitol Hill. I was always on it because I think it's important how you present yourself in those situations, especially when like I said, I wasn't just representing myself. So yeah, there was a bit of a difference, you know, when I'm walking to a class in a suit and my peers are in sweatpants or just got out of bed, you know, after a crazy night. And sometimes I would envy them. I said, that looks like fun, but I'm over here at 6 a.m. getting ready in my business suit. But that's kind of what separates, you know, different types of people, I guess, at times. And that's where I met some of my closest friends, was kind of in that sphere of people who are super driven, and like that saying, to live like no one else, you have to live like no one else. That really rang true for me in college.
Awesome. Yeah. So that was one of the things I was talking about, the discipline. You know, that's got to be hard. Your peers are all out doing things they would do growing up. You know, was there any thoughts of maybe, hey, I'm missing out in this arena, and it's awesome that you chose. That's a choice. I mean, it's a big, huge choice to discipline yourself, to not fall into that, not just fall into it, not be a part of it. You know, it's not that it may be wrong or nothing. It's just different, you know, and it's not that they're bad people or anything. It's just different. It's a funner time. I mean, that's probably where I would have fit in. I would have been in the pajamas and all that. If I would have I probably would have never made it to college. But, I mean, I barely made it to high school. So, because I'm always, you know, doing things entrepreneurial way, you know, and why do I need this and why do I need that? I'm ready for hard knocks and all, you know. It is definitely a big change in one's life to go from that. I mean, you weren't really prepared for it,
No.
what you did. I mean, you learned as, you learned as you went. I mean, it's like in life, we were not really prepared for everything.
Yeah.
So you're student body president when
Mhm.
COVID hit. Is that right?
I was. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what you did to prepare
Yeah.
for that, something none of us knew,
No.
right?
Yeah.
And how did they prepare you? I mean,
Mhm.
how did you prepare for it, and how did the upper management, well, I would call it upper management,
Yeah.
prepare you for it?
Yeah. So when it happened, I was home here in Florida with my friends for spring break, our senior year spring break. And I was prepared to go back to school and wind down my term as president and call it a year and move on. But my term ended up expanding another year, not another year,
Wow.
rather another month, excuse me, since it was supposed to end. And I ended up never going back to Penn State. My graduation got canceled. I was staying here to finish my classes in Florida. And so it was a huge kind of just pivot and turnaround 360. Everyone experienced this in different ways in their lives. But for me personally, it was just, I was inundated with press inquiries and emails from students saying, okay, I'm home, but my home does not have internet. I'm not financially secure. I got fired from my job. How do I go back to school? How do I afford school? My mental health is really bad. I am not doing as well academically on online courses. So it was just a bunch of different issues that weren't there before, that I was getting calls, I mean, constantly about, Laura, what do I do? Or getting emails from students saying, Laura, help me. And my job was really to direct them to the correct offices at Penn State that were able to help them. But these offices were also transitioning and trying to figure out what was going on. So I had to work with them and help them pinpoint these are the exact issues that students are facing. This is what they're calling me and telling me about. This is how I think your office would best, kind of acclimate to it. We were both holding each other's hands. I was holding the university's hand and they were holding my hand in a way. And then when I would get inquiries about, different things I would need to say to different press outlets, I would definitely be mindful of what I was saying, because like always, I was representing the university at this point, not just my constituents. People wanted me to speak on behalf of Penn State. And that institution is quite large. It's not just one campus. There's 20 Commonwealth campuses across the state of Pennsylvania. So working with the leadership at those campuses, it just was a huge snowball effect. And I was kind of in shock, and I didn't have time to process what was happening in my own life, that my senior year is canceled, my graduation is canceled. I need to make sure I graduate and get my degree by finishing classes online. And then also the fate of all my career opportunities that I had lined up were kind of getting delayed or fell through. And I couldn't deal with that until I knew that the school was okay, which was really until the end of April was when my term ended. So it was a full sprint for about 2 months, just making sure that all my bases were covered. And it pushed me in a way that I didn't know that I was capable of leading, which I'm grateful for that experience. I didn't know I could step up in the way I did. I never thought I'd be capable to be that competent and strong to get through things. But when you're forced to, you do. And I think a lot of people experienced that over the past couple months. It's a way that they had to step up for themselves.
That is very, very, very humbling and very experimental. I mean, it's an experiment because we're going through it. So, I mean, just a blessing to be able to have the faith. I'm sure you went back to a lot of your faith in life and faith and yourself and your family and your upbringing, and you're digging deep to figure out, which way to be, how to act and all that. That's phenomenal. And then not to give up, I mean, anytime we're through there, you can say, hey, this is too much for me. I can't handle it. But you didn't do that.
Yeah.
You dug down deep, like you said earlier on, you said you cried when you talked to your parents and all that through the process of learning it and going through it, but you didn't stop.
No.
You didn't let your emotions hold you back. Your dad talks about the risk muscle. You have to take risk, right? And now look at all the risk you've taken. I mean, totally different than what you were brought up on, right? I mean, totally different.
Yeah.
and pursued through all that,
Hmm.
came out, um, came out on the other side with so much information, so much knowledge about self as
Right.
well. I
Right.
mean, like you said, you never thought you would have
Mm.
that in you to be able to, pull up the bootstraps and hang on and go through it, facing fear. I don't know. That's a question.
Mhm.
Is fear part of your life?
Yes, but I'm not afraid of fear in a weird way. But it's definitely, of course, it is a part of my life. It plays a factor in it. If I'm not a little bit scared about something I want to do or something I want to try, I'm not sure if it's something I should pursue.
Very good.
It should be something that scares you a little bit. If you feel really comfortable in it, and for me, and I think it's in my DNA. If I feel too comfortable in something, I don't like it. So yeah.
That's interesting.
Hmm.
Um, I see the cross you're wearing. Tell
Yes.
us about your faith.
Yeah. I mean, since I was a little girl, since I was 4, I went to a Catholic school and was raised with a really strong faith from my family. But not only that, it was the example that they showed me. A lot of people, you know, talk it, but they don't walk it. And my family, my dad and mom specifically, have been people who really live out their faith out loud. And they do it in a way by serving people who are less fortunate than them, and not being afraid to wear their faith on their hearts, really. So being able to see how a faith can evolve and how it looks in action is something that I have admired deeply about my parents, and something that has definitely been passed on to me, that I think you can show your faith in ways that people don't even expect, just by living a good life, and being kind to others. That's really the core of it.
Yeah, that's huge. That's something that a lot of us uh, don't have or choose not to look at or look for. It's something you have to look for. It's
Mhm.
not something that's just given to you. I mean, you have to know about it, number one.
Yeah.
You have to practice it, number two,
Hmm.
and you have to you know be aware
Yeah.
of your surroundings and your surroundings of others. And I see that. I see, with Debbie and I, we're that. I mean, just some of the things that she does.
Yeah.
She's more giving in areas than I am. And, I feel my calling is my work, as part of my faith and helping others in the foreclosure industry and the housing industry. And
Right.
I mean, we work with people that just, don't even have a chance, and it's just good to be able to know that. I entered a house to this morning.
Hmm.
And I'm like, wow, how can you be living like this? And here it looked like Haiti.
Hmm.
It's like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? Was my question. I go, what the heck am I doing in this situation? But I know it's our company or myself helping others,
Hmm.
get to the other side of life, and that's what we do. And I think that's why we're into it so deep,
Yeah.
and we take it for real. And every life we touch, every hand we hold, and
Hmm.
every deal we do is that. And then to be able to give from our, we were giving before you met your father, but one of our goals was to buy houses for people who couldn't afford houses.
Yeah.
And we've known your father and you for 20 years. You're 22, so you were 2. So and it just helped us do that, and being able to help the foundation,
Hmm.
be a part of the foundation per se.
Hmm.
And we really enjoy it. And I loved hearing you saying that, part of your legacy is going to be that
Hmm.
the Caring House Foundation
Yeah.
is going to be something that you said not on your watch,
No.
will it,
Hmm.
so that's pretty powerful. And it's another thing though. It's like going to Penn State. I mean, going to another third world country, nobody knowing who you are, but showing up and showing faith,
Hmm.
showing giving, showing your love and compassion
Yep.
about people.
Yep.
About people, the real thing that makes up this world.
Right.
Because this we talk about, it's a people to people business. It's a
Hmm.
the whole thing is, I mean, schools, work, wherever you go, it's all about that, and trying to guide people or help people guide themselves in a way as well. So
Hmm.
it's we're on here about at the top of the hour, and I could just keep asking you questions forever because you got such great answers. I mean, you're so full of the answer as well. I can get somebody on there and yep. And yep, I was like, what? You don't have an answer? That's not an answer. Yep, it's not an answer.
Yeah.
But you have been so fun.
Thank you.
And are you at home now? You're in Delray now?
I'm in Delray now.
Yeah. And you're leaving for New York?
I'm leaving for New York on Tuesday, less than a week.
So what are we doing in New York? You saying you have something lined up, or you just going to go wing it like you did in Penn State?
I'm kind of winging it, actually. I'm talking to a couple people, though, to be fair, so I'm not going to jump the gun and say where yet, but I think the best is yet to come, but I'm talking to a few companies, so I'm getting there so I can kind of keep up with them and say, I'm here, I'm hitting the pavement, I want the job, I want to be working for you all. So like I said, and you said, exercising that risk muscle that my parents have instilled in me, saying, hey, I'm going to hop up there and, start my life and see where it takes me.
That is so awesome. So you're going with all the things that you've learned from Dead Fred,
yes,
all the way up to Penn State,
right
through Penn State. So this is your next level, your next threshold, no ceilings for Laura. We're breaking all the ceilings. We're not going to have no glass ceilings for her.
No.
She's going all the way. You are so impressive.
Thank you.
You're the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you answer, the way you smile, the way you talk, just impresses me and impresses my wife. I'm sure they're all watching. I'm sure they're all saying all kinds of, I can't see any of the, on this, by the way, now this is Laura's first Facebook Live.
It is.
And I really appreciate that. And it's, I got a question. Somebody texted me for you. It says, what are your best parting words for those watching? Oh, well, I was getting to that. Come on.
My best parting words for those watching, I think it has to be what I said earlier. Is say, do what you love and the rest will follow. Whatever brings you the most authentic joy in your life, hold on to it, trust your gut, trust yourself. It never fails. So just follow that authentic feeling, and what that feeling, only you know what that feeling is, because it's different for every single person. So just trust that inner self and do what you love.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Again, I hear for sure. Glad I got to do this interview. It's unexpected. This is an unexpected interview. Not something you would think of, or not, because I remember I looked at your dad. I wanted to say something about your mom. You're talking about dress for success, right? You went to Penn State. Mm-hmm. So I think I know where you got that from, because your mom's in high heels at 3:00 in the morning. and dressed like to the T. You got to wear black. Everybody had to wear black, but I tell you what, man, she was decked out.
She was.
And always there, always concerned, and always knows about her whereabouts. Like you said, hardworking woman.
Yep.
And there's always the great woman behind a successful man, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that shows. And for both of them, I applaud them, but I applaud you more.
Thank you.
By taking on their legacy, taking on what you've learned from them, and using it in your life, your way, not their way. Like you said, I loved it when you said, when they left, when I was at Penn State, it was my time.
Yeah.
but to take your time.
Mm-hmm.
And do with it what you did is phenomenal, and that's the accolades, and I know they're so proud of you. I know we're proud of you, and I really again appreciate you taking the time to get on this interview, and I know it's going to be a good interview across the country. I know we're going to have a lot of contacts, communications, and if you have questions for Laura, if you want, she's not on Facebook much, guys. She doesn't really get on Facebook.
I said, now I'll get on.
Now you'll have to get on to see if anybody watched our video, right? See how many times they watched it, but no. But yeah, get on and she'll answer your questions. I guarantee it. If she doesn't, I'll call her dad and make her.
Yeah.
She's been such a blessing and a beautiful soul. Beautiful soul.
Thank you.
And we really appreciate, and I'm not saying this because I know your parents. I'm just saying it because, it's been a really good interview. I loved it, and it's been fun. Thank you for coming on Foreclosure Friday. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for giving us experience, strength, and hope for the younger people and the adults, guys. I learned a lot from this. If you didn't learn anything from this, you better rewatch it again. It is full of a lot of good information, and I really appreciate you pouring your heart and soul out into it. Thank you very much, Laura.
Thank you.
Have an awesome weekend. Enjoy and be safe in New York.
I will.
All right. Bye-bye.